Cue the intro.
Live from a buy here, pay here lot in Pueblo, you're listening to Downshift with your hosts, Ryan and Jason. This is the Colorado Cars and Coffee podcast by car enthusiasts for car enthusiasts. Clutch in, gear down, and let's start the show.
Let's
do it.
Start the show.
I feel like we should have had cowboy hats for that intro, right? Like that.
No place like Pueblo to buy a used car.
Or wear a cowboy hat.
For that matter, yeah. Hey. Episode number 4, Downshift Colorado Cars and Coffees podcast. Here we are.
Quattro.
Episode 4, and we have almost started to figure out what we're doing.
We're darn close. We're darn close, right?
Baby steps. We're definitely getting there. If you don't know, this podcast happens once a month. Typically in the beginning or the first weekend of the month. We try to shoot for it Saturday or Sunday, 5 o'clock. Seems to be our live at 5 has a good ring.
Live at 5, baby.
Keep an eye on all of our socials. You can see when we're going live and what we're talking about. And with that, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X. I guess we can move on from calling it Twitter. Here on YouTube, you might be watching on YouTube. We got it on YouTube. We also have a presence on LinkedIn, believe it or not. Threads, we're doing something there. I don't know what. We have a bi-weekly newsletter you can sign up for. It goes out every 2 weeks and covers in upwards or almost 3 full weeks worth of local meets, cruises, shows, events.
And that list is getting quite extensive at this point.
Summer is coming around.
Yeah, we are
getting big.
Yeah, getting some mega big dense list of events, tons of stuff coming up. This weekend's weather notwithstanding, things are heading into warm and dry conditions, so keep an eye on that.
86 on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm excited. There's 2 shows I might go check out this weekend.
Next weekend, obviously this weekend was a bust, but next weekend is going to be sweet.
Before we get going too much further, Shift Colorado Magazine, one of the best darn publications you don't have to pay for. That has to do with the Colorado automotive scene. Issue 11 just dropped on May 7th, right?
That
was, I guess not ago. Just, but hey, that was within a month ago by a day. Yeah, so it's there.
Read that. ShiftColoradoMagazine.com. It couldn't be easier to remember. Just find that and read it. It's really good
stuff. And while we're on that, we have a how-to real quick, so you can find us on YouTube, probably one of the more prevalent viewing platforms for most people. Let's see, the easiest way to go about this, there it is right there, Colorado Cars and Coffee YouTube. Search for that, you'll find us. But then you do have to go, takes you to our homepage, obviously, where we've got prior episodes, some really old stuff if you want to look at Steve and Terry being foolish like Jason and I are here now. But you're going to want to go right here to live, because again, live at 5, and then you'll see right here is us currently. If I click that, it's going to turn into one hell of a tunnel echo scenario, so I won't.
Don't do that.
But it's right there.
You can see our
prior episodes as well. Take a look at that first one and watch us stumble through it. It might be entertaining.
Oh man, we were both just recovering from being sick from that first episode.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
I remember I still had a fever. I was like sweating profusely. I really hoped
you were glistening. Yes, you were. I remember that. That's funny.
Yeah, our faces are significantly more beautiful now than they were at the first episode. We were pale and sick, and now I've got a little bit of sunshine and not sick. So that's good.
Well, we actually have some sun now, so that helps. I actually just did yard work with my mother here today.
Oh, lovely.
The yard is looking prim and proper. I actually can't wait for it to start coming in.
All right.
What do you mentioned the warm weather, and I mentioned I'm going to hit up at least one meet this weekend, maybe 2. Friday night, the Searching for 7th Car Club is doing their thing right over here near me. It's like minutes from my house, so I'm gonna go do that again.
Nice.
As long as the weather holds, it looks good Friday. And then
Mhm.
I've always wanted to check out the WeatherTech show that they do.
Oh yeah, I've heard that's good. Yeah.
It's cars, tacos, and doggos now, or something like that. It's had a different name. It's had the WeatherTech show, and then it was cars and something. I'm actually gonna the old list here and take a look because I want to get it right.
Right. Advertise that as cars, tacos, and dogs, as in not hot dogs, but bring your dog, your pet dog, and hang out and look at cars and eat tacos, and maybe your dog will eat some tacos too.
Oh, geez.
While they're at it.
I'm almost positive it's on this list somewhere. I think it just has the other old name. I'll find it. But it is, that's on the 13th. Up there at the giant WeatherTech facility in Broomfield, I think it is. My friend has gone. He went once. He's like, it starts at 10. We got to get there. And I'm like, dude, you always want to be there. Like, when it starts, it's not that big of a deal. He's like, well, when we went, I'm like, it has a huge lot. And he's like, yeah, when we went, it was packed. And they have food trucks doing tacos, and they actually have some society or entity there where you can adopt dogs.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's not just bring your dog or, dog friendly. They're actually helping find homes for dogs that need them. So
nice.
It's supposed to be nice on Sunday. So I'm going to have to get out there. Now I just got to pick which one of 3 cars to take.
Hey, the good problems to have, right? Yeah, I think, what am I do? I think I will, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to head down to Colorado Springs and visit our friends down at Porsche Colorado Springs, John and Justin, and I'm actually going to test drive a 996 Turbo just for funsies. So yeah.
Don't tell them that. Oh yeah, I'm real interested in buying.
Well, I mean, they know that I'm interested, but given certain current economic conditions, the timing for acquisition of said vehicle will probably be pushed out a bit.
Yeah. There's a big difference between very interested buyer and can actually afford to purchase.
Right. Yeah. Eventually, but no, and they know that, and they said it was cool if I just come by and at least give it a spin and check it out, because I've never driven a 996 Turbo, and I think maybe I will want one day. So I don't know. I have to check it out and see.
I have actually driven a Porsche before. It was old. I don't remember the year. I got a photo somewhere. An old 911. It was, man, from PPIR all the way back to Denver in an old Porsche 911. My bones were rattling by the time I got back. It might not be the most comfortable, but it's a Porsche.
Yeah. And then I know was it Ferrari of Denver? They have an event coming up. When is that event? Hold on, let me pull that up. That is coming up on
I
the
think I got that
Supercar,
on the list.
April 19th. Okay, so that's April 19th. From 8:30 to 10:30 at the Aspen Grove Shopping Center. That one's on my list. I definitely want to check that out, because seeing Ferraris objectively seeing Ferraris is cool. And I know they have that new 12-cylinder Ferrari that's literally named the 12-cylinder, the Dodici Cilindri in Italian. So yeah, Colorado, Ferrari of Denver, Cars and Coffee, Supercar Showcase, Aspen Grove, Saturday, April 19th, 8:30. They've got espresso truck, coffee truck, and why don't you go there and just drool over some Ferraris? That sounds like a pretty cool time. So yeah, those are some of the things I have coming up that I'm going to be checking out.
Yeah, I just can't wait for the warm weather. It keeps teasing us, and I'm ready. I mean, I used to be a huge winter guy, snowboarding. I haven't been in years because I-70 is terrible, and the cost of going if you don't buy a season pass is terrible. I just can't bring myself to go anymore. And I used to tell people, I mean, it still makes sense. I absolutely love Colorado.
Yeah,
it's got everything but a beach, right? And you can go places and fake it. But when I get tired of summer, which is hard to come by, winter comes around. And then when you get tired of winter, summer comes around.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of winter, you might get like a day worth of summer and vice versa. So, you get your little tastes here and there. But I am ready to turn wrenches, ready to clean cars and take them out. So
yeah, we have to do our little like detail clinic at some point with the detailing supplies that you've acquired.
Yeah, I keep telling, hey, you need to clean a car because I got everything. You want to come by the house? I bought a pressure washer like 2 years ago and I haven't even taken it out of the damn box.
Yeah, we should do that.
That's how I am. I'll get everything I need and then I won't use it.
Well, my GTI needs a good thorough detail. I've just done maintenance washes this winter, so I think we'll schedule that and maybe we'll make some content and throw that up on the show for a future episode. But for this episode, we should probably get into some of our next content here, because we have an awesome guest for today's episode, really special guest that we're actually probably not totally qualified to have a guest like this on our show
of this caliber.
But Steve arranged it. So thank you, Steve, for getting somebody so accredited and accomplished and official.
There he is. All right. And we've got him in queue. Should we bring him in?
Let's bring him in.
All right, let's do it.
Hey,
hello.
Welcome. Hey, guys.
Hey, hi, sir. How are you?
Hey, Kel.
Good. Thank you guys so much for having me. Really excited to do this.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. I even made this fancy little ticker just for you.
Nice. Thank you. That makes me look real official.
Your name in lights, sir.
Well,
appreciate it. Thank you.
You are very official. I see you're wearing the official polo shirt there with the logo.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. Well, would you care to introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are, what it is you do, and why you're here.
Absolutely. So my name is Cale Gould. I work for the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, a little tiny business unit, a part of everybody's Colorado State Patrol. I'm here to try and answer questions about auto thefts, share whatever information I can, and generally help people make their cars safer.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think this is a topic that will be really relevant to everybody, because I feel like it's been such an issue here in Colorado, and I think all across the country over the last couple years, really kind of coming out of the pandemic. I know it was like every other week you were hearing about somebody that you knew, or someone who knew someone who had a car stolen at the airport, or, parked on the street, or something. So I feel like it was a very hot topic for quite a while. I think fortunately it looks like the trend is that auto thefts are really going down over the last couple years. Ryan, do you want to pull up? I know, Cale, you were really great enough to send us that press release with some statistics. Do you want to start there, Cale? We can kind of go through some of the statistics, and then maybe you can get into some of the best practices and tips that you have and your organization has to help people prevent their cars from getting stolen.
Absolutely. I'd love to. I think the statistics talk for themselves, really. Some of the best things that we could share are auto theft is going down. Auto theft is going down over the last 2 years. Auto theft gone down like 45%. Huge changes. Things are looking better, but that doesn't minimize. You could see there from 2019 to 2022, auto theft in Colorado really escalated. It reached untouchable levels, places to the point where you're absolutely right. Every time, you have neighbors on Nextdoor, you see it on Facebook groups, everywhere. Everybody was talking about cars being stolen, break-ins, attempted thefts, more and more. So we're really happy to report that, through a variety of factors, a variety of initiatives, auto thefts have come down a lot in Colorado. That's in no small part to collaboration as well with everybody from, enforcement initiatives, training initiatives, and the public at large. People taking notice that auto theft is up and making those extra steps to take care of their cars is huge. We try and, hone that in as much as we can. There's only so much that could be done on an enforcement level, a prosecution level. So much has to be on an owner to take the extra steps when they're needed to prevent that theft.
Sure.
Yeah, and I had a curiosity question. I was talking to Jason before we started. Obviously, it may have started earlier than 2019, but that's what we have in the visual here, and it rapidly goes up. how much of that can be attributed in some form to COVID, if
Yeah.
at all?
Great question. Great question. So if we could extend this graph, go back another 5-10 years, you could see auto theft in Colorado was gradually increasing well before the pandemic era. Funny enough, 2019 was the first year in about 5-6 years that auto theft went down in Colorado. It went down like 3% from the year prior. And, we thought it was a turning point. Things were looking up. And then pandemic hits 2020, and we were on a climb until 2023. With that, what the pandemic did to the nature of auto theft, we attribute some of that to the pandemic, those rapid rises, things like correctional facilities no longer able to intake people due to pandemic concerns, releasing low-level offenders, property crime, auto thieves due to pandemic concerns. That's a large part of it. Everything from that, law enforcement, critical staffing in those times. You heard about that a lot with some agencies. Just very bare bones, understaffed to the point that your most intensive 911 urgent calls were having significant delays. So things like property crimes, auto theft gets pushed down farther on the priority list, and it loses focus. Things like agencies all across the U.S. pulling investigators, detectives out of these specialty task forces to work these urgent calls. And, it's things like that, economic downturn. The pandemic was really a focal point of a lot of factors coming into Colorado, including things like different legislative reforms and all that really just drove up auto theft significantly in that era and time.
Yeah, sadly, amongst all the other havoc that it wrecked.
Right. There's nothing that's untouched.
But like you said, here in the last 2 years, we're seeing a sharp decline, and that's great.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I bet that number would be drastically affected if only half of Nextdoor actually locked their cards.
That's a big thing, and you're almost dead on. We'd say like 30 to 50% of auto thefts are some level of what we call owner apathy. Cars left unlocked, keys left in cars, spare keys left in cars locked with keys in there. Just the little tiny things that if we could cut down on those, we could cut down on a lot of thefts. But we recognize there's other thefts that go beyond that. We have to provide the best information on resources to prevent thefts that go beyond those basic unlocked cars unlocked with keys in them.
Yeah. I actually saw that recently on my local Nextdoor. Someone had posted their front security camera video. The car was out front in the street running, therefore, unlocked. And here comes a car down the street, turn the corner, guy jumps out, jumps in the car, takes off, and the owner's running down the street after him. It even made like the local news, I think, or it got bigger somewhere. And it's like, unfortunately, we don't live in that time anymore. You could have left your car running for a week out in front of your house over 10 years ago
in 1950.
You just can't anymore. So people need to take that extra step. I used to, I'm not in the worst neighborhood by any means, but I'm not also in the best. And I used to, I'd come home and I'd just close my front door. Now it's become habit. Close the door, lock it. Back door locked at all times. It's just if you make it an everyday habit, then it's just habit, and it's not you being paranoid or something like that. So
it's just good common sense.
I bet you're willing to back it up that that one key step, like you said, between 30 and 40% of your known thefts are due to owner empathy of some kind. Or apathy.
And those are stats that we kind of accumulate from our friends at General Motors and their security division, as well as the National Insurance Crime Bureau. They kind of collaborate as far as I kind of sum up those stats between those two to make up that 30 to 50%. And that's what we know about, what we estimate, because so many of those things, your car is stolen, like that example you said, running unlocked outside. How many of the times do you think somebody goes to file a police report and it magically disappeared? It wasn't running outside just because, they're embarrassed. They're afraid there might be repercussions for them. And, if we could prevent the behavior of leaving the cars running unattended, that's huge. And the better data we have from people making accurate reports helps us attribute, losses correctly. This wasn't some gone in 60 seconds sophisticated deal. This was a owner error, and that happens. We understand that, and we just want to again provide the best information and tools to help prevent these situations where we can.
Sure. Yes.
We actually got a question from our very own Steve Clark. I believe you covered it, but there might be something else you want to touch in. He asked, are there any major factors contributing to the decline? And you had stated that it was teamwork, essentially.
It's everything. All those things I talked about in the pandemic era of expanding auto theft rising. We've seen so many changes in this quote unquote post-pandemic era that auto theft is coming down drastically. A couple notable ones I could talk about specifically. There was a Senate Bill 23097 that completely changed the Colorado auto theft statute. That was significant. That was really significant for us. This kind of is a little history for you, but before that Senate bill, the value of the car in Colorado directly tied to the level of offense somebody would be charged with, which makes no sense. So if you stole a $2,000 car, it was a misdemeanor, very little repercussions compared to if you stole a $20,000, $30,000 car. And it makes no sense. It was, in many ways, completely unequitable. And the legislature looked at that, completely changed how that is. There's no dollar amount tied to Colorado's auto theft statute anymore, as well as really took some initiative to curb many of the after the theft behaviors that are so concerning. Because auto theft for us, it's beyond a property crime. It's not the loss of your vehicle, which is huge. Your transportation, probably your second largest purchase next to your house ever is your car. We recognize that it has value, but so many of the thefts we see are a car is stolen and used in a smash and grab burglary. It's used in high-speed chases, eluding law enforcement. It is touching on so many other dangerous factors that stolen car has now, changed the path of many people's days, lives very significantly. And with that Senate Bill 23097, a lot of those dangerous behaviors like using a stolen car in the commission of another crime, eluding law enforcement, and a couple other things there, like trying to disguise the vehicle as anything that it's not, alter VIN tags, alter colors, license plates, things like that, all get rolled into this new Senate Bill 23097 that create aggravating factors for these charges. That was significant. That was a big one. It was huge. And I think that was a significant morale booster for law enforcement as well, who had seen auto theft climb up, not having necessarily the tools, the staffing, attention span, amongst many other things going on in that era, to really be able to grip onto this and see there is a notable change in statute that empowers them to make change. And with that, we also received a one-time funding of general fund money to make significant change in auto theft through our office, through our grants programs. That went really well. You could see that as you could watch the decline there in 2023. It went so well that we've received additional funding for this year and subsequent years, and we're continuing to roll that out in initiatives to reduce auto theft and support local departments. We're a tiny grants office of just 6-7 people who make up our office. It is not us who are making this change. We're facilitators for local law enforcement, for local prevention programs, for training initiatives for the insurance industry. That's, our role to empower each person in Colorado, each agency in Colorado to make these changes to reduce auto theft.
Wow. Yeah, that's super interesting. And yeah, it just shows how interconnected everything is. You were saying you get data from the OEMs, from the auto manufacturers, you partner closely with the insurance companies, it sounds like. I think, and you yourself are an employee of the Colorado Highway Patrol, correct?
Correct.
State Highway Patrol. Yeah. So it's like how all of and then you said, obviously there's new legislation that passes and that enables all the law enforcement agencies and the DAs who prosecute all these crimes to have another tool in their toolbox, and that helps them to eliminate a lot of these criminals from the streets, and hopefully that's a deterrent to future people who may be considering some type of auto crimes like this as well.
Absolutely, or even engaged in the past. Stolen cars. Maybe we had heard previously during that pandemic era and right before, people were offenders who had some home burglaries. That was their main crime type. We're looking at auto theft because it was becoming easier. It was becoming that facilitator for other crimes. So we really want this to be a deterrent that crime never pays. It will not pay in Colorado, and especially auto theft now more than ever and continuing forward. And with that, we really want to praise our local departments who've really helped so much to push this initiative. I can tell you also across the western half of the U.S., we work both with the western half of the United States as well as United States and international partners who have similar missions to us within this auto theft landscape. We keep our ear to the ground to work with as many people as possible, because you're just right. That network, it affects so many people. It involves so many people, businesses, departments, that we want to be in tune with the needs of everyone. Help move programming towards supporting reducing auto theft, towards making Colorado safer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all of us car enthusiasts can definitely get behind that wholeheartedly. And yeah, I feel like I remember at one point the hot topic was catalytic converter theft, right? It was cars being stolen or just cats being cut off right there as the car was parked. I know that was a big thing. It seems like that's died down. Has your department organization been involved in some of those? I know there were various things that people were saying, oh, you have to put a cage over the cat or etch an ID number on that, various things to cut down on those catalytic converter thefts.
Great question. So catalytic converter theft really in that pandemic era too, out of nowhere spiked. It was something that was not really noticeable. I mean, the data to support it's very challenging, to be honest with you, because it's not like when law enforcement agencies go to enter a report, they select stolen catalytic converter. Sometimes it's theft from a motor vehicle, theft of a motor vehicle component, just larceny. It's across the board, right? So it's hard for us to gather data. We did some really, really hard data work to pull out some numbers. Our office was tasked with managing catalytic converter theft in that same era, as we seemed the natural home for it, being that we were managing auto theft, and they kind of tie fairly well together. Other departments had a significant interest. As you can imagine, the Department of Health and Environment, who runs Air Care Colorado emissions, they have an interest in it, of course. We work collaboratively with them, and really what drove up catalytic converter theft, the convenience of the crime, the ease of the crime, being able to transact catalytic converters, and the value. The value was huge. All of those raw materials that made up catalytic converters just spiked to the pandemic level to, you saw like palladium and palladium notably, and rhodium just scream in price from a few $1,000s an ounce to $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 an ounce during the pandemic level. That took your $50 used catalytic converter and turned it into $500. The catalytic converter theft in Colorado has declined substantially. A lot of that's driven by the market. Those metals have returned to more normalized pricing, as well as, again, some legislative action to reform how people could transact those catalytic converters. So now you cannot transact catalytic converters with your metal recycler without having some ownership trace, the title of the vehicle in your name for this catalytic converter, things like that, as well as adding catalytic converter theft to our Chop Shop Act. It's another one of those tools for investigators, DAs to work with, for people who were, stealing cars to part them out, chopping off catalytic converters, or catalytic converter theft is all, adding some additional resources there. Catalytic converter theft has gone down substantially. There's still vehicles, of course, to be aware of. Anything that's tall, easy, off the ground, trucks, vans, moving vans, things like that. Those ones we always, encourage people. Those identifying systems, those VIN etching, number etching systems, great, because being able to locate stolen catalytic converters with no numbers, no tags, no ID after is impossible, and makes it hard to investigate, to work, for investigators to tie that catalytic converter to that crime on that day when they don't know where that catalytic converter came from. That's a huge one. And then like the cages are great. Plates, specifically on the hybrid Priuses, those first generation Priuses, those catalytic converters are very sought after, and there's some aftermarket solutions that are just a complete total fixed metal plate underneath. That's a great resource. We suggest those, but luckily we're seeing catalytic converter theft substantially down in the last few years.
Good. Yeah, it's about time we got some normalization back.
Right.
On all fronts.
Absolutely.
Would you like to go over the top 10 vehicles or towns, cities?
Let's talk about the vehicles for a little bit. I'll talk about some of the big things we see with these trends, things to be aware of. The big ones here, it pops out to you right away. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 10 are Hyundai Kia products. Big problem for us as far as volumes of theft. We saw these rise a little before the pandemic, in the pandemic, and keeping up with social media, you see trends, mostly it seems out of the Midwest and the North, with these Kia boys, young kids who steal cars, Kia, Hyundai specifically, for social media challenges. We don't see the youth stealing cars for social media here. We see strong level of youth engagement in these crimes, but it's not for social media. It is criminal enterprises. It is for committing other crimes. It is not quote unquote joyriding. We hate that term because every stolen car is not a joyride. It is not to be taken lightly. And these Hyundais and Kias, they are not being stolen for challenges, TikTok challenges, etc. They are being used in the commission of other crimes. There's some great resources to prevent the thefts of those. Kia and Hyundai rolled out a significant security software update. We encourage everybody to get involved with that. You can get it at your Hyundai Kia dealer without charge. Then, of course, adding additional security features, hardening devices, your steering wheel lock, your parking boot, gear shift interlocks, whatever it may be. Look at your options. Our office provides free steering wheel locks through our headquarters office, a couple other locations. Anybody in Colorado who could benefit, we always encourage those. Any vehicle on this list, we encourage use of those as a baseline to prevent theft. Let's talk about Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra. A lot of those are those first generation Silverado Sierras, long publicized, how to steal those constantly. They've been on top 10 lists for Colorado for most of the US for better part of a decade, if not longer. And a lot of those we see more chop shop act being parted out. Some of those more sophisticated theft end games, opposed to the Hyundais and Kias. We're not seeing, like wash titles, VIN swaps on those. We'll see those a little more on the Silverados, the Sierras, F-250s, F-150s, similar to the trucks there. Then the only one I'm left out there is the Honda Civic. And up until the Hyundais and Kias, that was the number one, and all of its subsets were closely followed. Same thing, just an older vehicle. I always like to use the analogy of like a computer. As your computer ages and you don't update its software, etc., it becomes more vulnerable to viruses, to malware,
hackers. Yeah.
Yep. Same way with a car. Your car is going to age. It's at one point very advanced security systems may not be so advanced in 10 years, and you have to take steps to keep up with those.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, one thing that just stands out to me right away is this list also very much mirrors, I would imagine, the list of top selling vehicles in the US as a whole, and also top selling vehicles in Colorado, right? A lot, like to your point about the trucks, a lot of these are just very popular, best selling vehicles, the Silverado, the Sierra F1, the F Series Ford pickups. So there's so many of these out there that you can, to your point, take them to a chop shop, part them out, and you can make a lot of money off those parts, or you can steal it, resell it. I think there was just a quick anecdote. One thing I had, a news story I read a few months back, they busted the law enforcement agencies busted the ring of people who were stealing cars at Denver International Airport. And from what I was understanding from the news story, it seemed like a lot of those vehicles were then, as you said earlier, being used to commit other crimes, used as battering rams, smash and grabs at various types of stores. But then a lot of those vehicles were also being actually sent down to Mexico, and they were being sold by the cartels and used down there as well. So I think that was a big disruption. I mean, you can probably speak a little more to that was probably a major factor in decreasing auto theft, just eliminating that wave of auto thefts at the airport.
Absolutely. This is a great opportunity actually to speak very, very highly of some of our programs, our direct grant programs, one of which is the CATPA, Metropolitan Auto Theft Task Force. They were the primary investigative unit on that airport case. They began working with Denver International Airport, Denver Police Department, early, looking at some increases of theft in the area, at which point they started to locate, as you mentioned, people targeting specific vehicles, using them to batter ram liquor stores, gas stations, steal ATMs,
vape shops.
Yeah, of course, vape shops. So our task force became involved with that and investigated that extensively. At the height, there was a little over 100, I want to say, you can't quote me exactly, but I want to say between 100 and 200 thefts a month from DIA, which it sounds like a lot, but DIA was at that time also seeing over 100,000 people parking at the airport per month. So while 200 vehicles, it seems a lot, of those who actually went to DIA was very minimal, but 200 vehicles being stolen at one location is unacceptable. And it was something that Denver International Airport, Denver Police Department, and our task force worked on very hard. And I can tell you, as of the last 2-3 months, we've seen single-digit numbers of thefts at DIA. So that's changed drastically.
Single digit. That's amazing.
And that's huge. And we want to, tell people that's a safe place to park. The specific crime rings, both the one that targeted ATMs, and there was a subsequent one that did most of the driving of the vehicles down to the southern border, exchanging that with the cartels. Both of those were investigated by our task force and had significant indictments, significant Colorado Organized Crime Act indictments. Those were large, and I want to say one of the defendants in that received at least 25 years, which is substantial. That's a very large, it's a message. That's a deterrent. Again, auto theft will not pay in Colorado. That's a huge message to the community. It is taken seriously from our investigative task force to the district attorneys, all the way to, anybody who would consider has or would steal a car. It will not pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What gets me about this list, no 4Runners and no Subarus.
Subarus don't come up on our theft list that much. They do have some pretty solid security features built in, both newer and older. The 4Runners, I know the older ones, just looking at some data of lately and hearing anecdotes, etc. The older mechanical ignition key style 4Runners, definitely those suffer from that aging effect where the vehicles become more vulnerable to theft. They become, they also become, somewhat, kind of like that Silverado and the Sierra. They kind of have a niche community who deals with them, who will look to transact them as, chop parts, etc. a little more. So we do, similarly look to put out that warning of take extra steps, use a steering wheel lock, use other methods to deter theft, because it's significant on those. That's something I noticed of late.
They're just so popular. I mean, Colorado
absolutely
screams Subaru, and I own a 4Runner myself, and I know they're incredibly popular. So it's kind of interesting to not see them on the list. But good old Honda Civic, that's been there as long as I can remember.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Here's a question, Cale. How much do you see any significant, as you were saying, there are certain precautions or deterrent factors that owners of vehicles can implement? You mentioned a steering wheel lock, you mentioned transponders or trackers. How do you see an automatic a manual transmission as being a significant deterrent in auto thefts, that a majority of thieves simply can't drive a manual transmission, so manual transmission vehicles just don't get stolen at a high enough rate as automatics do?
So this one I try and take carefully because I've thought about this a lot. The data tells us overwhelmingly automatic transmission vehicles get stolen more, overwhelmingly. But with that being said, as you know, automatic transmission vehicles are increasingly the more popular choice on the road, more of them every day compared to manuals. So again, that might be a volume issue versus a skill issue maybe. But with that being said, we do hear anecdotes specifically about folks who, like I had heard one of somebody who was trying to carjacks the vehicle, realizing it is a 5-speed, then goes and carjacks a different vehicle.
Grand Theft Auto style.
Yeah, exactly, just like it, right? And manual transmissions they can be a huge deterrent to thieves in some instances, but I would not rely on that alone as a theft prevention device.
Yeah. Well, to that point, do we want to look at, Ryan, do we want to pull up the list that Cale provided of some things that we can do to help prevent auto thefts from happening in the first place?
Yeah. I don't know if you actually provided this. Steve posted it, so maybe he got it from you.
Nice. Absolutely. So this one comes straight off of our website. There's some good things here. I'll talk a little more about a few of them I think are important. We already touched on the don't leave your car unlocked, keys in it, don't leave your car running unattended. With that being said, there's a couple things people always think, park under light, that's better, and that's part of it. We want to talk about visibility. Park smarter. So if you park your car in a well-lit place, but it's like around the corner of a building, it might not be highly visible. So it's well lit, it might not have that deterrence of a vehicle parked in the front row of King Soopers, right? Many people are walking past that vehicle all the time. That's a theft deterrent. works the same way when you park at your house. You don't want to park your vehicle in a place that is entirely taken away from public sight if it's not your garage. Your garage is a huge tool. Of course, I'm one of those people who I have a 2-car garage. I keep one car in it and a lot of stuff that fills it. But those the garage is huge. That's a big theft deterrent. It's putting cars in garages. So clean out your garage, put your car in it. That's big. Firearms, please never leave firearms in your vehicle. That group we're talking about at DIA, they targeted vehicles they specifically thought might have firearms in them. Whether they were clued in by, say like window stickers or to some extent even visible firearms, they specifically look to steal those vehicles for those firearms, to transact them, use them in violent activities, etc. Please never leave firearms in your vehicle. It's a huge public safety hazard. And it's just not good for your firearm. Don't do that to it.
Yeah, no, it's like a 2-for-1 for the thieves right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. These are some big things. We always talk about check your insurance too. Make sure your insurance does exactly what you want it to do. People think, I have full coverage. Well, to some extent, maybe that doesn't cover your catalytic converter. You need to add that on if it's, you drive a vehicle that you have a strong fear that could happen to you, or whatever it may be. Check your insurance. Make sure you know exactly what it is. That's a huge one. And then talking about prevention, we love anything and everything to prevent auto theft. It's huge. Whatever you could do to build layers, warn off thieves, we encourage it. We'll help you do it to whatever extent we can, whether it's we hand out free steering wheel locks or my email and phone numbers all over the website. You can find me easily. I will have a personal conversation with you about your car, about the risk factors it might have, things we suggest, specific to this community. I'm a car guy. I love cars, and I always think about good things to do to protect my cars. And people think kill switches, and kill switches are great. I love kill switches. A kill switch saved one of my cars from being stolen, but I still had to replace the column and fix the door on that car. One of the things we always encourage, if you're going to use a kill switch or like a battery killer, or battery shut off, whatever kill switch or variant you might use something else. That steering wheel lock, a warning sticker, something that clues a thief in that they're not going to be able to steal this car. Please don't break my door, my column, my ignition, because I had to fix that on multiple of my vehicles and I got really tired of it. So build layers, right? Steering wheel locks, that club, great device. Very easy, cheap, affordable. It is a big deterrent. And you build that with, there's some great programs popping up now. We're supporting a lot of them, like Denver Track, that hands out AirTag or similar GPS trackers for folks to place in their car. And then window stickers saying this vehicle is a part of this program. It will be tracked live. And if you steal it, you run that risk.
Good deterrent, right?
I saw a great video with the lady the other day. Someone, I'm not going to say where he put it, but it was in a really cool spot for a fuel pump kill switch. And it was hidden, you wouldn't even know it was there except for him.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize, you want a free one, pull the fuse for your fuel pump. It might be a pain in the butt, but if you're parking somewhere a little questionable, pull the fuse, figure out which one it is. So pull the fuse for your fuel pump. Car won't ever start.
Yep.
And that's free.
Absolutely. For those Ford TFI people, pull that TFI connector out. I do that all the time. I love that. Know your vehicle, especially for this group, this car community, right? People, your vehicle. You know what it takes to make it run. You know what it's going to take to make it not run. Use that, build tools, and make your car safer.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and obviously, like you said, common sense stuff, like especially not if you're going hiking or you're on camping, you're on a trail and at one of those parking lots at a trailhead, don't put those valuables in plain sight, that pocketbook or those cameras or anything that looks expensive or might be desirable to steal. Cover that up, take it with you.
Absolutely.
That's another favorite from my next door stories. Well, I left my backpack with like everything I own in it, and my laptop had my social security card.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving that in your car? Or people that leave their wallet like fully stocked. I leave it in the car 24/7. Oh, that's not smart.
No, absolutely not. And I think a lot of it goes back to what you were saying. You don't live in a bad area, you don't live in a good area, but a lot of people think about in Colorado, how much Colorado, the Denver metro area in particular, has changed. I live on the northern edge of town by far, way out towards the Frederick area, and even I've only been here 3-4 years. This town is hugely changed. There's so many more people moving in, houses, apartments built. That, more distant suburb that you thought was safe when you moved there, it might be very different. And if, your line at the grocery store is longer, your line at the drive-thru is longer, there's a good chance that a lot of people frequenting your area may not be the people who you think your car's safe with. Take those steps. Recognize if your area is changing, that you think, well, wow, it's not the small town you moved to anymore. It's a good chance you need to start taking big town security precautions with your car.
Yeah.
Be
smart.
It's just a good idea, no matter how you look at it.
Absolutely.
You could be Highlands Ranch or Cherry Creek, and it can still happen to you. It's one of those things you don't think it's going to happen to you until it does, and then you don't have a car.
And some groups target those areas, those more affluent areas. They will go to those areas to snoop around and see, where's some opportunities for us here. So yeah, always good to be smart and be safe. I think this was great, Ryan. I think I want to just close out with Cale. We appreciate your time, and I want to end. We talked about some heavy stuff, some downers. I want to end on a high note. You mentioned you're a enthusiast, car enthusiast yourself. What are you driving? What's in your garage? What are you interested in?
Oh, I got a whole bunch of cars, a whole bunch that don't always get me to point A to point B, but they're a lot of fun in between, There's A, B, and C. Yeah, absolutely. We joke about it all my time. I have a 2004 Ford Mach 1 Mustang. I love that car. It's been a great car. I bracket raced it at Bandimere for years. Took me to a semifinal and a quarter. It's been fun.
Nice.
I inherited from my grandpa a 34 Ford 5-window that I'm going to do a 351 Cleveland setup in.
You just caught my eye, and I believe my mother is watching. We had my father, who has passed some time ago, had a 1936 Ford 5-window coupe, and it was beautiful. But I'm gonna have to stay in touch with you, and my mom might have to come and check out your car.
One of these days. That one's a long ways away, but one day it'll be together. I gotta finish it, but it's one of those things. I got parts on shelves for it, waiting and planning it.
Well, I can share some photos of ours for inspiration.
Please, I appreciate it.
They would travel the entire country for the NHRA and won multiple awards, and Mom would do the setup, and Dad would take care of setting up the car. So
beautiful. That's exactly what I have in mind. Yeah, we're talking a similar language, and I do this because I love my job. I love working for the Colorado State Patrol. It's the best place on earth to work. I get to work, with people in cars every day to the extent I can. I said I'm a car guy, and since Roger Penske or Jack Roush hasn't called me to drive yet, I'm gonna keep doing this and doing what I love.
Well, they might be, if they're watching this podcast. Let's remind them. Give Cale, drop Cale a line and give him a test. Give him a test seat in a race car.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And like I said, I am very reachable any which way, and I want to help each person in Colorado make the car safer. And I'll take questions, from my email, my phone all the time. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, you guys, and anybody who hears this.
Great. I know Steve has been in touch with you even outside of the email thread that we all shared. So he's probably going to pick your brain a little bit and promote a lot of this in the Facebook group. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your time and joining us this evening.
Absolutely.
The information you provided. And let's all keep working together to get that number down even further, because I sure like my car right where it is in the driveway.
Absolutely. Me too. Well, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, and thanks for the work that you and your organization do. All right. Wow. That was, I feel like we get these guests. We got Cale here. We had Bill, Dave Lowry. We've had these really great guests, and we're just a couple of guys, and we so much great information, great advice for how people can help each other also, right? Because like he said, it's a community involvement. If we all help keep things, reduce auto thefts, then that's fewer stolen firearms, that's fewer robberies and burglaries, right? So it's a ripple effect of reducing crime in our communities. So that's great.
That's one of those things you don't really think about. My car got stolen. And you think someone's gonna I don't know. I think the biggest mindset, my car got stolen. Someone's going to go chop it up, sell the parts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that might be best case. you don't think about that avalanche effect that someone stole my car, then they smashed it into the front of a liquor store, and then they wreck in there and they stole a bunch of liquor.
Yeah.
And they might get drunk and then keep driving the car, like you never know. And your car could be used to seriously hurt or even kill someone.
Right.
And that's
downstream
terrible.
Impact.
And all you got to do is lock your door.
It's a big one. It's a big one. I will say I grew up in a fairly rural area in about 100 miles north of New York City. And growing up, I do remember my dad would just leave the car unlocked with the keys on the dashboard. He doesn't do that anymore, thankfully.
Any classic early 80s movie where someone gets in the car and they're like, huh? And they flip down the visor. There's the key. I know where they are. Yeah, you just can't do that anymore. I hate to say it, but living at one point near 67th and Wadsworth, right next to Arvada High School, I was moving, and I had, I don't know, 3-4 cars or whatever, and I'm in the process of moving out of this home, and I'm packing things, and I'm stuffing the boxes in the cars, not locking the doors. One morning, I get woken up at 3 a.m. to the police banging on the door. And they're like, hey, is this stuff yours? And I'm like, yeah, where did you get it? And they're like, well, it's strewn all about the streets.
Oh, geez.
Somebody broke into they took something of my deceased father's. That was a memory, an entire bag of all of my snowboard gear, everything but my snowboard and my boots.
Oh, geez.
And then just a bunch of misc, and you can't see it, but I'm kicking myself under the desk because it lock the door. That's all it would have taken. And yet then all my crap's all over the street. And so crazy. I learned my lessons the hard way though.
Yeah. Well,
too often.
Wow. Okay. So I think we ended on a high note with Kale. Let's keep rolling into a more upbeat tone. I did a cool thing recently. Unfortunately, Ryan, you weren't able to join me. But we'll have to make it happen another time. I got a really cool private tour of a great private, high-end car storage facility. It's called Blue Chip. And they actually were a longtime sponsor of Colorado Cars and Coffee, and I believe Shift Magazine as well. They have a really great facility kind of in the Inglewood area, very nondescript kind of commercial area. A lot of different business, just very industrial business area. But behind the scenes, wow, they have such a great operation. Predominantly, they are collection management. So they have a number of clients who store their vehicles there, and then they also assist their clients who do the storage. They assist them with if they ever want to sell their vehicle, they will list them and act as a broker. They do full detailing and PPF. They have a great facility, and I have a few pictures that I want to share from my little walk around, and we can geek out on some of the awesome cars that they have in their facility. So I
saw beauty on their Instagram.
Yeah,
the lady is in love with Porsche GT3, and they had a GT2. I'm like, sorry, it's only a 2, honey, but it was like this immaculate green, and that's her color. So
yeah.
And then I perused through some of the photos that you took and was like, whoa.
Yeah, and they have an awesome Instagram. Definitely check them out at Blue Chip Denver. They post a ton of cool stuff. So this was the first. They have a couple different buildings in the area. So this is the first building I went into, and this is where they do the maintenance and service side. So they predominantly service clients' cars who are part of their storage program, and they're sort of like white glove concierge program. So they do also take a handful select outside clients just for maintenance. So predominantly it's Ferrari and Porsche that they will take outside clients, but most of the vehicles that they do service on are clients of theirs who also have vehicles in storage with them. So boom, right here, about to go up on a lift, Corvette Z06, awesome, beautiful yellow. Can't go
Classic.
wrong with that. Then these photos are all out of order. I did a terrible job putting this album together, but yeah, so this was kind of the view that I was treated to as I walked in. They've got a Porsche Cayman up on the left, Range Rover here, Corvette there. And then
And clean.
yes,
Everyone loves a nice clean garage or a facility, and that's just like sparkling.
immaculate. Yeah, it was immaculate. It
Ooh, I
was
saw a Roadrunner.
Where was I know, I'm sorry. I did such a terrible job putting here, this was the other one, the Skyline GTR. Looks like it is getting some balance. Is the wheel? It's getting an alignment. It's getting the wheels balanced there. It's up on the Hunter machine. So yeah, just super cool stuff in the service section. And then this was their detail area where they do full PPF. And this is a real Cobra. It's not a replica or a Super Performance or one of those other Excalibur. It's not a replica Cobra. It's a real Cobra. And yeah, they're doing a full PPF on that. And yeah, they have a full detail bay where they're doing all kinds of paint corrections and ceramic coatings, you name it. Super high quality products. Lots of talented folks that are working there. So I know you're partial to the to the Cobras. And then there was this really cool this old Ford truck that was also hanging out. So it just speaks to the variety that the tastes that their customers have of, everything from modern supercars to vintage and classic, and even some old trucks and SUVs. Let me think. I think
that might be a minor misconception too. Like, high-end private storage. Oh, right. It's going to be a Lambo. It's going to be a Ferrari. But no, it's going to be this super cool old Ford.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an exotic for you to want to take care of it.
Yeah.
Or need storage for that matter. God knows, I wish I had a garage 4 times the size of what I've got.
Right. Yeah.
Let alone as well lit as this place.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the bunker. It's their main storage. It's all underground, super secure, super clean, as you said. And so, yeah, we've got a Aston Martin V12 Vantage manual here. You can always tell the V12s from the V8s because it's got these extraneous hood vents on the front for cooling. We've got a Gunther Works, not a Porsche Gunther Works, which is not really much Porsche in there. It's all custom carbon fiber and all kinds of crazy science and engineering that goes into these Gunther Works, and they're stupid fast and stupid expensive and yeah, just super wild. I think the cool thing about this that they were telling me was that the front tires and wheels actually have a wider diameter than the rear.
Interesting.
So yeah, normally with a lot of supercars and high performance cars, your rear wheels, it's rear wheel drive, are a much wider diameter. But I believe that was what they told me on this one. We're back here. Let's keep scrolling. Okay, so Ferrari, again, like Ferrari 275 GTB, super beautiful, super unusual to see these cars out and about. But here's one sitting right here in Denver. From the front, these cars are so elegant. I've seen several of them in person over the years at various concours and car shows, and they're so elegant. A couple angles, and then they've got some race cars. They have some cars that their customers compete with and race. And yeah, so here we've got like a 996 Porsche based race car that they are storing.
That had the Michelin Man on the front. You know what I learned the other day watching cooking shows on Netflix with the lady?
Yeah.
The Michelin star ratings?
Mm-hmm.
That is this Michelin.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't know, and I had to look it up. Turns out that they made like a travel guide in the 30s, 1936 or something.
Yeah,
early. To try to get people to drive and travel more to sell more tires.
The more you drive, the more tires you buy.
And then that turned into them just doing restaurants. And now, obviously, most everybody knows what the Michelin star rating is. It's like the world-renowned restaurant ranking system that came from a tire company.
Yep. It was all a marketing stunt. It's all to get people to buy more of their products. And yeah, so just some super cool race cars, a lot of Porsches, but obviously more than just Porsche. This was like the main view. You come down a big long staircase and you get this view,
mammoth,
just straight. Yeah, it's huge. And there's space in the back that's empty. So if you need some space to store some Berettas,
hey, yeah. I'm actually I told you I was working on making room. I got rid of 2 cars recently.
Yeah, Ford GT that has some race car bits on it. This is really rare. This is really cool. This is a Ferrari 288 GTO. Very rare. They did not make very many of them, and very unusual to see one out and about because they're incredibly valuable. So to see one in person, this is a very raw, very analog car that very lightweight. So super cool to get to see that. Mercedes Evo, the 190, which is basically, it kind of looks like a DTM race car because I believe they were used in DTM racing in Germany, and it has this adjustable front splitter, so you can actually extend or retract this front splitter to create different aerodynamic needs for different types of racing. And it's got the huge rear wing. I believe this is the Evo 2, the 190 Evo 2, which again, very rare, very valuable, very unusual to see one in person. But we got to see one here. Corvette ZR1, definitely a awesome car. You get all kinds of fun extra performance goodies as an upgrade over a Z06 or a base Corvette. The ZR1 is definitely, I think, the apex of the pecking order. It's the apex predator in the Corvette lineup. Just some cool badge detail on that Ferrari 288 GTO. Cool badge. I knew a
guy that he used to rent. He'd do like exotic car rental. And long story short, I helped him transport some cars. That's how I got to drive the 911.
Yeah.
And he let I drove the Z06 from here to the Springs. And he would never shut up. Vets, they're the best. It's the best thing ever. And I'm like, okay, and then I drove this Z06 and was like, I think I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was an older model, or I don't even know the year, but man, that thing, it felt so good. I would not mind driving another Vet.
Yeah, no, they are. And the new ones, the C8s are super fast. Yeah. Nice pagoda roof, 230 SL.
It's funny because you still see those like old Benz diesels like all over the road, but they don't look like that one.
No, that's not a diesel. That's a gasoline. That's a straight 6 engine. Audi RS4, also pretty rare to see these. I believe these are eligible for the 25-year import rules now, so probably we'll see more of them. I love details when it comes to graphics and badges and decals and stuff on cars. So you got the Hemi Cuda, you got the signage on the graphics on the side. I thought this was cool because it's a pink Barracuda, which is pretty unusual. I feel like most people, you get like, a black one or a, red one, you get something menacing, but this is cool that it's a Cuda that's like pink and a little bit, it's just very different than what you normally see. Then you got the Dodge Challenger. You got the Dodge Challenger here, also in pink. I believe owned by the same client, they said. Then you got a nice split window Corvette.
It's a split, yeah. Seldom seen. I know about those ones.
Yeah, also very valuable.
I actually I posted it once on the Facebook Cars and Coffee. I pulled up behind a Vet, an old Vet like that at a light. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a split window, but he had some weird stick-on thing to make it look like it was the split window, and I was like,
faux split.
Really faking the funk on that one.
Yeah, and then I love the Superbird, the Plymouth Roadrunner, and you get the fun, whimsical decal on the spoiler.
I think I showed my mom a photo of one of those, and she was like, "What is with that wing?" I'm like, "That's how they came."
Yep. And
it needs it.
Yeah, it needs all that downforce for sure. And then they have some bikes too. They have some motorcycles. So even if your Ducatis or your Triumphs or your Harleys are also welcome at Blue Chip, and alongside all the cars. Yeah, a nice old Porsche that's run the Colorado Grand. Yeah, super cool stuff. And a lot of they're very active on Bring a Trailer. They also have they have a listing of cars on their website that are for sale. So they're very active in the selling of clients' vehicles as well.
I'm glad you said something, because we've got a car that we've been trying to sell it might not be one of these, but it's high. It's a higher collectible, I think, a collector car. So I'm going to actually reach out to them and see if they'd assist, what their services entail when it comes to co-signing or assisting with a sale.
Yeah, they may be able to help with that. I'm sure there's some kind of a fee or a commission that they take on that. But they do offer all those services. Love this view of the Roadrunner. Just ridiculously sized wing. Anyway, yeah, and that was, I know we're getting to time here. We should probably wrap up in another couple minutes, but I just love, they have these ID Buzz vans that they use as shop vehicles to run around in. Love it.
Well, we saw one of those on the road the other
day.
I think we saw two in the same day. Yeah, one on the way to where we were going, and then one in the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, starting to come around. I did one of these at the the driver's window, and that dashboard is impressive.
They're cool. I got it. I think they might be a little expensive for what they are, but they're very cool. And I think seeing them around on the road, it's like, okay, great. It's a fun design, and they come in some really cool colors. So it's and to your point, the interior is very beautifully designed as well. So anyway, that was my summary. I'm sorry you weren't able to join me that day, but maybe we'll set something up for another time.
And we'll drive the car we're trying to sell down there and be like, hey, you think you can get us some money for this?
Yeah, I'm sure they would consider.
No,
it.
I'm actually going to reach out. So you should send me the contact that you dealt with.
Yes, I will.
I'll name drop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. We are a little over time, but quality guest, quality slideshow from Jason from your visit to Blue Chip. One quick thing to touch on: the summer events guide. It is essentially an extension. You could call it more than the newsletter, but far less than Downshift or than Shift Colorado magazine. The last one, I don't remember how many pages the last one had. It was up there, but it is coming. It's going to be out in a week or two. Jason and I are still putting the finishing touches on that.
It's done.
I've got plenty of work to do, but you can look forward to that. We'll announce it all over our socials when it comes out. It isn't by any means an all-inclusive list of what's going on this summer, because half of what's going on this summer hasn't even been planned yet.
But it's a highlight reel.
Things like the Golden Super Cruise, Concours d'Elegance, the larger repeat shows are covered in there. Photos from the events, at least one, if not two or three, and then a quick write-up from someone that's been there or utilizing the information from someone that has actually been there. So keep an eye out for that. I think it's at least like 35 pages. And each event is a 2-page spread. So you get a real good look at what you're getting into. Lots of little notes like it's family friendly. There's bathrooms, just the ins and outs of some of the larger events that we as Colorado Cars and Coffee know about. That is on its way. And again, don't forget the newsletter, and check our Instagram. Every Thursday night, I make a post that details what we know about that's happening that coming weekend. And as Jason mentioned earlier, I've gone from like 2 little screenshots that I put in the post to 3 or 4, and soon enough that'll be 6 or 7.
It's gonna
Pages
get longer.
just
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding. So don't ever tell me there's nothing to do in Colorado with your car, because there's plenty. And now, I think that's all the important stuff, right?
Yeah. Actually, do you want to? I have one last thing, and that, just to close us out, I have a musical surprise. Do you want to kill the night drive?
Yeah, here.
tunes?
Kill the night driving music. Dink.
So one other fun, as Steve's media empire, that is all things Shift and Colorado Cars and Coffee, continues to expand, we now have an album. It is AI generated, so I can play this without breaking any copyright laws or needing to pay any fines or royalties. But our own Shift Colorado's own Brendan Garst recently did an AI generated Shift album that is available on Spotify. And I just want to play one track off of it to thank Steve for hooking us up with such a great guest, Kale, which was great. And Steve set that up. So I want to play Steve's song.
Rolling like a king. Alpha Romeo got that sting. Colorado mornings, let's shift the gear. Coffee, donuts, cars, and cheer.
Oh boy.
You know where to find him. I don't even grinding. Wheels are spinning.
That's good stuff. This AI band is pretty good. I like Terry's title. Put it in reverse, Terry.
Oh yeah.
Back it up. Back it up.
Donut man dealing with the funky twist. Shift, rolling smooth, can't resist. Ride or die, you know where to find him. I don't even grind.
I will be sorely disappointed if I run into Steve with a Cars and Coffee and this is not blaring out of his car.
Coffee's hot and the vibe's being moving.
All right. Well, you get the gist of it. So this whole album is available on Spotify. It might be available on other music streaming platforms. I don't know. We've got 7 tracks here, but email us or drop a comment if you want Brendan to write more. If you want Brendan to have Chat GPT or whoever write more AI generated songs like that.
I definitely need a Beretta theme song.
Yeah. Oh my God, you do. That's it. Okay, Brendan, if you're listening, get on it. Do a Beretta song for Ryan. All right. Well, we are over time, so let's wrap her up and say we'll see you next month. And thanks to Kale and all that great info about auto theft prevention, and glad to see that the trend is that thefts are going down. Let's keep it up. Stay smart, stay safe.
Lock your doors.
Yeah, lock your doors, take your keys, and thank you.
If you would all just lock your doors, next door would lose like half of its post traffic.
That's true. and thank you to Cameron and the folks at Blue Chip for the great walkthrough of your facility and taking the time to show me around and let me take some pictures. Yeah, that's all I got. I think we'll see everyone. Oh, and thanks to Bill Levasseur for that great intro as well. Bill's great, and I think it's great that he still wants to record new intros for us.
Yeah, we'll have to see just how far we can take that one.
Yeah.
The Pueblo intro. We're gonna need something. We're gonna need something a little more off base next time.
We'll work on it.
We'll see what we can come up with. And with that, next
All
time
right.
will be in about a month. You'll see it all over the socials.
Mm-hmm.
And this is us bidding you adieu.
Ciao.
Always forget.